We also had consciousness raising groups, where we met in people's flats, in just a small group, usually of 8 to 10 people, sometimes a bit smaller, where we would talk about our own personal experiences of realising we were gay, coping with that, coming out, the reaction of our families, our own internalised homophobia. Because lots of people in the Gay Liberation Front had internalised homophobia. I can remember several people, in consciousness raising groups saying, well, I've come here to the Gay Liberation Front, but I really don't feel comfortable about being gay. And so in these consciousness raising groups, we talked through those issues and, shared our experience and our perceptions about how you could come to terms with being gay, and why these internalised values and ideas were nonsense and had to be changed. This was very challenging. And we did much more things. We tried to challenge people's, body shame by having news consciousness raising groups, by having group sex, and all kinds of things, just to break down our individual inhibitions. And I can remember being quite squeamish, because I came from a very, very conservative working class background, where all these things were entirely taboo. And it took many, many months for me to sort of get comfortable with this kind of exploration. But I think most of us who went through that experience came out of it better, more open-minded, more free and liberated individuals. And then, of course, we also had the experiment with the communes. The GALHA agenda was very much against the nuclear family. We argued that was an imposition of patriarchy. It was a facet of social organisation imposed by late capitalism, and that we had to move towards a more cooperative, sharing way of living. And so therefore communes were set up in Bethnal Rouge, in Bethnal Green, the Railton Road commune in Brixton, the communes in Colville Terrace and Notting Hill, where a group of usually between about 8 and 10 people would share a giant house in common. All their income would be pooled, all the food would be pooled, all the clothes would be pooled, and all the bodies would be pooled. Again, a very exciting, interesting social experiment. Agree or not, this was a revolutionary change about how people conceived we should live our lives. And then on the other side were the people who argued that, well, yes, lifestyle changes are important, and yes, we have to change our consciousness, we have to rethink these issues, yes, we do have to live differently, we have to live our lives in concordance with the new, better kind of society we envisage, but that ultimately it's laws, institutions, and culture and values that have to change. So this is a more political sort of agenda, which sort of perhaps came out of people from a more left-wing or anarchist tradition. And the Gay Liberation Front, for example, joined the big march against the Industrial Relations Bill in 1971, I think it was. We joined, but I can tell you, for many of those trade unionists, our solidarity was not appreciated. People were pelted with coins and banner poles. Queers were not welcome. Workers' solidarity was for straight workers only. I can remember also we went on many of the big marches, the Troops Out marches against the war in Ireland. And again, we had sort of we did have some supportive responses, but we also had quite a lot of, let's say, quizzical, curious, disdainful looks, and a bit of abuse as well. But we never ever allowed that hostility to deflect us from the importance of showing solidarity. Even if they wouldn't reciprocate, we were determined that we would show solidarity with their struggle in the hope that one day they would come to their senses and realise that all oppressed communities and peoples should stand together united. United we're strong, divided we're weak. As you all know, out of the Gay Liberation Front came many of the institutions that became central to the future LGBT community. London Lesbian and Gay Switchboard began as the GLF helpline phone number. In fact, the very same number that London Lesbian and Gay Switchboard uses today was the old GLF, or is the old GLF phone number from the basement in 5 Caledonian Road under Houseman's Bookshop, where we had our office. And so Switchboard is one of the achievements, or one of the lingering legacies, or not lingering, but strong legacies of Gay Liberation Front. Another, of course, was Gay News. It was members of the Gay Liberation Front, Dennis Lemon, and others who got together to organise and suggest the idea of a first ever gay community newspaper, which was born as a result of a series of meetings in Dennis Lemon's flat in just off High Street, Kensington. Gay News survived for a while and then has since been succeeded and incorporated, but it was a very important start as a means of communication within our community. We also had the formation of icebreakers by members of the Gay Liberation Front, people like Mickey Burbage. They set up this new organisation which was run by and for LGBT people to provide positive, affirmative counselling support for people who had anxieties, doubts, depression and psychological problems relating to their sexuality. It was the first such organisation ever established in this country, and at a time when the mainstream groups like Samaritans often had very hostile, unsupportive attitudes towards LGBT people who contacted them. So I guess, here we are, all these decades later. What has changed? A huge amount. A huge amount. And it really is down to many of you who I look around this room and see many of you who have been part of this process for a very, very, very long time. Cumulatively and collectively, we have brought our movement and our community to where we are today. A very, very different place from 1970 when the Gay Liberation Front was first established. Maybe we've lost a bit of the radical vision, but we have gained a hell of a lot in terms of civil and human rights. We have moved mountains. There are still mountains to climb. The ban on same-sex marriage, the ban on gay blood donors, the mistreatment of LGBT refugees from homophobic countries, the often non-enforcement of the law when it comes to hate preachers and murder music singers. But boy, despite those battles yet to be won, we have moved mountains, and it's thanks to everyone, gay and straight, who've been part of this momentous historic movement that we are where we are today. Thank you.